Divorce sucks, but it doesn't have to define you. You're not alone, and you're not powerless, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. Welcome to The Difficult Divorce, a podcast that cuts through the drama and confusion to give you clarity, confidence, and straight-up real talk. Hosted by Molly Rosenblum, family law attorney, fierce advocate, and the one you want in your corner when it all hits the fan. Each week, we'll break down the legal, the emotional, and the unexpected so you can take back control. Because smart decisions start with straight answers.
Welcome back to The Difficult Divorce. My name is Anthony, and alongside me is Molly Rosenblum, founding attorney at the Rosenblum Allen Law Firm, located here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Today, we're talking about the first 30 days of a divorce, and specifically what not to do during that time. These early decisions can help shape the entire case, and people often don't realize the damage they're doing until it's already too late. Molly is here to talk us through some of the biggest mistakes she sees in these Nevada divorce cases. So I'd like to hop right into it. Molly, why do these first 30 days matter so much?
Hey, Anthony, it's great to be back here on The Difficult Divorce. And the first 30 days of a case matter because they set the tone, the narrative, and often the status quo for the entire case. In Nevada, family court judges look at that early behavior, and that can carry a lot of weight, especially in a custody case and in financial disputes. So what you do at the beginning of a case is often what ends up being in front of the court early on and can set the tone for the whole case moving forward.
So things to avoid. If you had to pick one mistake that causes the most damage early on, what do you think it would be?
Oh, the single biggest mistake we see people make at the very beginning of a case and in that first 30 days is acting emotionally instead of strategically. We see people sending angry texts, moving money, draining accounts, withholding children, which is terrible, and trying to, quote, teach their spouse a lesson. Those actions in the first 30 days of a case will be documented. You can almost rest assured that the other side is going to use that against you. Their lawyer will use that against you. And so, yes, I would tell you the one big mistake that causes damage early on is acting emotionally instead of strategically.
Well, you mentioned like angry texts. How does communication become a problem so fast?
Oh, this is the biggest one. I wish I could give my clients a time machine and let them go back in time and undo those super emotional, angry texts or communications. So what I would tell people is everything you put in writing, everything, whether it's a text message or a voicemail or something on social media, that is potential evidence. You should assume that every single thing you put in writing is going to make it into the court file and is going to be used at some point to show the judge your character and your behavior. Even if you feel completely justified in the moment of making that social media post, of putting in writing that your spouse is a bitch or acting like an asshole, you should expect those words are going to be shown to a judge. And in cases where we see folks say things like that over and over and over again, repeated text messages, or where they just can't turn off the word vomit, that is going to be the lens through which the judge looks at you. And one bad message, one moment of word vomit to the other person can be the entire tone of your case. It can undo months of good behavior. It can undo everything that you thought you were working towards. And so just be super careful about what you put in writing. I always tell my young associates, if you're anything lower or anything above a 3 when you're sending a message, an email or a text, take it down, wait till you're at a 3, and then from there, send the message. Also, in these times, ChatGPT, Gemini, the large language models, those are your friends. So if you feel like you just can't hold back, you have to send that text, you have to send that email, run it through ChatGPT, ask Chat, hey, does this come across aggressive, or is this, if I send this message like this, will it hurt my custody case or put me in a bad light in front of the judge? And oftentimes Chat can send back something that's more acceptable, a little more measured, less emotional.
I mean, that makes sense to me. It's almost like having like a third party review your messages to make sure it doesn't come across so aggressive or, like put you in a bad light in front of the judge. But you also mentioned financial mistakes people make in the first 30 days. What do those kind of look like?
So the big one with finances is people making huge financial moves in that first 30 days. So what we often see is people draining financial accounts, trying to pay off all of their debt, taking loans, big ones, getting huge sums of money, even under the best of intentions from family members without documentation. Recently, I had a case where the other party took half of the money out of a joint account and took a trip to Paris. And believe me, we are using that in our case, and we bring that up to the judge as often as we can because it's just a super bad look. So even if you think you're protecting yourself by moving money or taking money or spending money or trying to pay off debt, it can often look like bad faith to a judge. This can lead to some pretty bad court orders and losses of credibility and even sanctions in a case. So before you do that, before you make those huge financial swings, talk to an attorney, get some legal advice, and find out what risks you're going to have. Again, those huge moves of money in the first 30 days often are emotional and not strategic. So again, talk to a lawyer, get that advice.
I mean, wow, taking a trip to Paris using combined finances does seem like a way to hurt your case pretty early on. Do you see any other examples of people damaging their case in the first 30 days, maybe in like a custody case?
Yeah, first 30 days for a custody case are usually some of the most critical. Recently, we had a client file a case and then proceed to withhold his child and not give mom any visitation or contact for the first 30 days. And oh boy, I cannot tell you how terrible of a mistake that was. By the time that client got to court, he ended up with supervised visitation, which was not a good position to be in. So yeah, people can unintentionally damage their custody case early on. Our best advice, don't change your routines. Don't pull back from parenting. Don't think, oh, this is so high conflict, I can't deal with this. I've got to wait till I see a judge. If you've been taking your kiddo to school every day, keep taking your kiddo to school every day. Courts are looking for stability. If your involvement drops after the first 30 days, that's going to matter. The court's going to think you're not serious about having custodial time. So again, like my client that withheld, it was because the mom had threatened to relocate. It definitely put him in a terrible position. Certainly if mom had relocated in that first 30 days and didn't have court orders or my client's agreement to do that, that would have put him in a huge advantage. But by withholding, he was at a huge disadvantage. So intentions don't outweigh patterns. The court's looking for stability, best interest of your children. So definitely get some legal advice. Don't do things unilaterally. Again, we talk about that emotional versus strategic. So when kids are involved, we understand it's hard to be strategic about things, but if you need legal advice, get it. Don't make decisions in that first 30 days that is going to carry through the entirety of your case and set the tone for how a judge views you.
So you want strategy instead of an emotional response. Just as you said before, they need to take a step back, breathe, and get the services you need instead of creating a bad status quo. Right, Molly?
Yes, creating a bad status quo. So whether it's custody, finances, living arrangements, once something becomes normal, and usually that first 30, 60, 90 days of a case, you're not seeing a judge, that sort of time frame is setting the tone for what is going to happen in your case. When you set the status quo in that time frame from the time a case is filed to the time you first see a judge, that is usually what the court's looking at as your status quo. If you start making huge money moves, if you stop seeing your children, if you withhold your children, the court's going to look at that as the status quo of your case and will make decisions from there. So slowing down early is super important. Getting that legal advice early, super important.
So if people aren't reacting emotionally, what should they focus on in those first 30 days?
Yeah, first 30 days, definitely keep things stable as much as you can. Document, document, document. Try to keep as much in writing as possible. If you're paying bills, keep those receipts. If you're taking your kids to school, get those sign-in, sign-out sheets. Or text messages confirming with the other parent. Get good legal advice in the first 30 days. I just cannot tell you how much and how important it is to get solid legal advice in the first 30 days. It is a lot easier for your attorney to guide you than to fix things. So get that legal advice early. Follow orders. Keep your parenting role. Keep communication clean. Again, remember what we said at the beginning, even though that super emotional, super FU email might feel really good, it lives in writing forever. So write your horrible, awful emails and texts to ChatGPT, have Chat revise them for you or help you get something cleaner. Get guidance from someone who knows the court. Talk to a family law attorney. Even a therapist sometimes can help in that first 30 days, keep you grounded and keep things more contained. Again, acting strategically, not emotionally. So the goal overall is to protect your long-term outcome, not win that first argument, not get that good feeling for a short period of time. You've got to think about going through this process as a long-term situation where it's going to last for a few months or even a year. And so what you want to do is set that tone early in the first 30 days. That would be my best advice for those first 30 days.
So the takeaway for this episode is that the first 30 days aren't about winning. They're just about not losing ground. Make smart choices, think, strategically and not emotionally, and get legal advice early on.
Exactly. Divorce is a process, and the people who do the best are the ones who stay strategic from the start. So again, strategic versus emotional. Try to be the strategic one and acting less emotionally, even though we completely understand this is an emotional process. Those who come out ahead are the ones who have a strategy.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Molly. Once again, we really do appreciate your insight on the divorce process. If you're at the beginning of a divorce and unsure of what to do next, informed decisions matter. You can learn more about working with Molly and her team at rosenblumlawlv.com. That is RosenBlumLawLV.com. Remember to like, subscribe, and send this episode to somebody you think might need it. We'll see you next Tuesday on The Difficult Divorce. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to The Difficult Divorce. Follow, review, and share if this helped cut through the noise. Find more tools and real talk on our website at rosenblumlawlv.com. And be sure to tune back in for the next episode. Because in divorce, what you don't know will cost you.